Not sure what I'm going to list this under. Maybe either like cinematic combat or a house rule or something like that. I haven't decided. But I wanted to go back to an old subject that I talked about cinematic combat and role-playing. And this isn't a video response, but it's about a subject that Andrew Wood and Within the Ring of Fire has made me think about, and other games. One of my favorites, Feng Shui, the old original first edition of Star Wars, some other games, and how some say it's a money grab or whatever have you, how game systems, 3.5, 4th edition, Pathfinder, have gone the way of establishing so many rule systems and adjudicating for players how things are supposed to turn out that we've forgotten how to describe things ourselves. All right? So, and there's actually, it's pretty simple, and there's a couple of rules as well. So let me start out. First of all, you have to understand that as a rule system, cinematic combat and descriptive elements as a metagaming tool supersede all time restrictions and all die rolls. And here's what I'm talking about. If you roll, player character, game master, doesn't matter. You make a combat roll, you roll to hit, you pass or fail, you find out what the dice say, you record whatever the numbers say, whether it's a failure, whether it's a crit, whether it's a fumble, whatever. You got to make a saving throw versus grappling or tripping or whatever. You do all that. After that point, you not have to. It is imperative that you describe what the hell just happened, right? So, saying I rolled a 13 and I rolled damage and I rolled a 3 plus my strength bonus 2 is 5 points of damage is boring as shit. It just, whatever. Okay, we know that. We've seen that a million times, and it really adds nothing to the game. So, then what else do you do? Well, the first step is, as a game master, you do all the descriptive elements yourself. And that's just first level thinking. So what I mean is, not first level as in D&D, but I'm saying it's the first level of taking further steps into these descriptive elements. So the game master says, okay, he looks at the die, you rolled so much, whatever, and he starts describing, well, you use your shield to blast away past the 2 orcs, your sword flashes through the air and slices into the chest of the bodyguard that is protecting the orc chieftain or something, right? Blood splatters and it coats your weapon. You hold up your shield as he tries to slice at you again or something, right? Well, unfortunately, in as we've come through the years, a lot of game systems are like, well, you don't get to add the extra shield push because you don't have the shield bashing advantage, or your character only is allowed to have 1 attack per round. I don't see how you can slash 3 or 4 times or something like that. And I think when the rules get in the way of the descriptive elements, that you're kind of losing sight of what the role-playing aspect is. Because the descriptive element doesn't have any effect on the combat dice. And let me repeat that again. Descriptive elements should never have, or should rarely have, any effect on the dice being rolled or the modifiers involved unless the game master approves them. So, an example would be you have a character with chainmail, a shield, and a sword. The fact that you're using your shield to block 2, 3, 4 attacks, and you're slashing your sword 1, 2, 3 times, and then you spin on your heel and do a powerful slashing down effect into the throat of the next enemy. The fact that you blocked 3 or 4 times, slashed once or twice, has nothing to do with what the die rolls are. It's a descriptive element into the game, and you want to insert that and be as unique as possible. So, for example, if your character is a more of a slasher than a thruster, you tried to thrust once, twice, but it doesn't work. You go back to your old technique. You take a step backwards and convince the orc that you are open to an attack. And as he swings his axe overhand, you slash forward, past his chest, dodging out of the way, rolling on the ground as he falls over, his axe hitting the ground where you used to be. That's just a descriptive element, okay? Well, okay, let's get past level 1 because you've already done it. It took you 5 minutes to learn it, right? So then level 2 is, as the game master, when your players kill something, hand the ball over. Tell your players, you tell me how you killed them. You are now under the spotlight. The spotlight is now on you. The camera's on you. You tell me how kick-ass your character is. Now, in the beginning, there are going to be 2 types of players. You're going to have one that's going to be very timid. They may not have the descriptive words to use. They may be nervous in your gaming group and not know what to do. They may be unused to using that kind of descriptive element and so may stumble along. And guess what? So what? You just forgive it. If they just say, I take another slash at the orc, forgive it. They do it again. I parry the orc's attack and then I slice at his knee. Just let them go. And then after a while, they will say it with conviction. They will describe with conviction. You're also going to get, this is the second level player, you're also going to get the opposite. And you're going to get a guy who's like, I stab him, and then I pull my crossbow and shoot him, and then I tie a rope around his feet and drag him behind my cart, and then I tie him up into a tree, and then I set him on fire, and then I cut him down, and then I shoot him and stab him again. And you're like, okay, dude, relax. You don't want to blow your load on one attack all the time, and you don't want to spend 30 minutes, like, it's just a combat round, right? It's a couple seconds long. In D&D first and second edition, actually a combat round was 1 whole minute. So let's see, a UFC fight, a 3-minute round was only 3 combat rounds. Anyway, but fast forward to today, a combat round's only a couple of seconds long. So make your description fit into a couple of seconds. It can go a little longer than that, right? So let's say the same fighter with the shield and the chainmail and the sword just finished slicing through the stomach of the orc that fell over him. He's surrounded by 2 more, and he circles around, sees another orc, and decides to, my character, he rolls to hit. Bam, you rolled a 17. Sweet, how much damage did it do? Okay, I rolled a 6, plus my strength bonus 2, I do 8 points of damage. Game Master's like, dude, you killed him. How did you do it? I take 1, 2 steps. I jump off the back of the orc that I just killed, flying through the air. I land with my shield in front of me, slamming the last orc against the table, and I take my sword and jam it into his throat and watch him die as blood drains down the blade onto my wrist. I turn around to the others with some blood across my helmet and my face, dripping off my chin, and I say, who's next? Guess how much that cost? Let's say you didn't have to buy a supplement, you didn't have to roll dice for that, but damn it, it adds some real great descriptive elements to the game. All right, so okay, we got past first level, we get to second level. Okay, that might just take 1 whole game to get past the second level. So what's third level? Well, third level descriptive combat and descriptive elements involves 2 things. 1, emotion. All right. What's emotion? Well, right now I'm going to steal something from a game that you should try to check out and check out some live plays. And that's Within the Ring of Fire. And I don't understand why this has never been brought. It has been brought up before. I think Hero Games tried it. Hero System. And there's some other games that make a little hint about it. And it's called the Soliloquy. Now, of course, you're thinking the soliloquy, like in the middle of combat, I'm going to break out into operatic song and go la 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 la, but that's not the case. The soliloquy is the internal and possibly external monologue that your character exhibits during the game. Is it metagamey? Sure. And here's where you're allowed to let time stop, slow down, and freeze, or expand out to a wider scene or focus into an extremely tight scene, no matter what the time schedule is. So, for example, the same character with the chainmail and the shield and the sword sits back. That character could now take the opportunity to add a descriptive element and says, I look around at my enemies, showing them the fearsome warrior that I am, but inside my heart races, for I'm scared. This is the vision that I've had since I was a young boy, facing enemies down and seeing myself fall to the ground and die, floating above myself in my dreams or something like that. Will this be the moment that I perish? Will I fulfill the fate that I've had this dream since I was a young boy and that my father told me about, or will I overcome it? Game effect? No. Inspiration in 5th edition? Hell yeah. Here you go, dude. There's an extra inspiration point. You earned it. Why? Because it's this inner monologue. It's this inner story. It's this added element of this character that's saying, you know what, I'm kick-ass, but you know what, inside, I'm pretty damn scared because I don't know what's going to happen. As a warrior, I'm not afraid to die. I'm just afraid that this might be the moment that I've always dreaded that may come about. You can add in particular elements to let those things arrive. It's the emotion. It's the filled with anger. It's the heart filled with rage. It's the looking across the courtyard and seeing your one true love. It is being able to immerse yourself into the emotion that your character may or may not have and not being so practical about it. I've got 5 hit points. Can somebody heal me? It's not about that. It's about clutching your ribs and knowing that the next strike will probably be the one that will end your life and hoping your friends get to you in enough time. It's not about, I'm at 5 hit points, but my movement rate's high, so I'm just going to get out of there. It's more than that. The second part of level 3 is building on the scene. So as I described before about first the character, the fighter with the shield and the armor and the sword, first he kills and slices through the stomach of an orc, but the orc isn't gone. Then, building on that scene, he jumps and springs off the back of the dead orc as he crumbles over. It's building on the scene, for good or bad, okay? So it's building on using the table in the room to jump off of it, and then later using the table and tumbling it over and hiding behind it as the second wave comes in with bows and arrows and crossbows. It's grabbing a hot pan of boiling oil and throwing it in the face of the chieftain before you take your dagger and slice across his throat or something. It's using all those elements around you and building upon those elements and not only just utilizing them, but knowing that and remembering and realizing that the entrails of the dead orc are on the ground, that the bleeding throat of the orc chieftain as he slumps against the wall and boiling oil sears down his face. And it's about the fact that you've grabbed your ribs and you're still holding on to them as you're spitting up blood and you feel your cracked rib poking into your lungs and trying to, remain on your feet one last time in front of your enemies so that they don't see that you're weak. It's building on each scene, building on the next one and the next one and the next one. Lastly, combining all that together is simply the aftermath. Knowing that, you know what, dude, you smell like orc blood. There's orc feces on the floor. The person who heals everyone in the group, that yes, the wounds may be healed, but the residual damage is still there. That you've come to a point in time where that your dread image of this fate when you die, was this the moment or will it happen in the future? Have you surpassed that? Maybe this was that moment and you've learned to live past it, and now you feel that you're invulnerable. Maybe this has changed your personality. Maybe you have more respect for the person in the group who can call upon their deity and heal you in a time of need, and understanding that maybe there is some truth to the gods that they worship, and maybe I should listen to what they have to say. It's building on the scene, making it more than just, it's just another combat. I got some experience points from it. Where's the treasure at? It's building on that and turning it into a full experience, so that later on in the game, you're like, hey, let's try to use those tactics we used before. Maybe I can learn from this experience. Maybe you've gained some more respect for orcs and understand, or you've gotten a particular opinion about them. And so when next time you see some half orcs who are trying to be nice, you're like, no, they're liars, dude. Last time I was attacked by orcs, they tried to kill me, and I'm not trying to listen to their opinion. It could be the opposite. Maybe you're this fighter character doesn't want to engage in combat anymore against these particular orcs, knowing that their fate, every combat with an orc, their true fate may come about and they will die in this fight with an orc. And so they're reluctant to get in these fights. I don't want to fight them. Well, why? You're a great warrior. You've taken down trolls and giants and stuff, but the orcs, I just don't want to. I don't want to explain it. I just don't want to fight them, because you're afraid that maybe this thing inside of you, this fate that might be your death, might come about. All these elements require 0 die rolls. You just add them to the game. Okay? Other cinematic techniques used for movies. I think that's going to be saved for another video. I think I've wasted your time enough. So anyway, it's DBJ. Cinematic combat. Not sure how I'm going to list it under which thing, but just adding some extra elements in here. Maybe some play techniques, and to just think beyond simply just rolling the dice, saying what the numbers mean, and going about it. So anyway, DBJ, as always, be creative. Don't be destructive. Don't destroy those elements where players are trying to bring in new life and new drama to your table or to your hangout or whatever, your Skype game. Let them be descriptive. I know some of us can get a little wordy, including myself, but that will draw other people out of their shell, and maybe talking to those people who are very wordy to get them to sit back and try to draw those people who are in their shell, draw them into the combat, draw them into the action. Let us hear what you have to say. And so allowing the GM, because it's a lazy GM technique. Hey, you tell me how you killed this guy. That way I can sit back and feed off of you. DBJ, and I am out.